Okay, this is getting ridiculous. I don't know how many times I've re-recorded this, but that's actually kind of ironic because that's literally what this piece is all about. Squirrel. No, I'm kidding. Malcolm, land the plane and explain to people what the hell I'm trying to do this week.
Malcolm on camera. All right, let's acknowledge the irony. He's re recorded this intro more times than he'd like to admit for a video about how his brain struggles to land things. That's not hypocrisy. That's demonstration. This week's video isn't about AI hype. It isn't about collapse narratives. It isn't about productivity hacks. It's about wiring, specifically the kind of brain that can dive deep into five domains, connect them beautifully, and still forget to turn the mic on. For years, he thought that meant something was wrong, maybe ADHD, maybe scattered, maybe just master of none. But what if it's not dysfunction? What if it's architecture? There's research on integrative, multi domain thinkers, people who build depth in more than one area and connect them. Some call it M shaped thinking. AI doesn't create that wiring. It amplifies it, which is powerful and chaotic. So this week, we're unpacking what that actually means. Why novelty feels electric, why finishing feels harder, why the toast burns, and how to build guardrails instead of shame. If any of that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Now let's actually get into it before he restarts OBS again.
All right, let's talk about a very specific kind of brain today. One that's incredibly powerful, but also, let's be honest, incredibly hard to manage.
You know the feeling, right? You've got all this horsepower. Ideas are just firing off in every direction. You're making connections that nobody else seems to see. But all that raw energy, it can lead to some serious burnout. You end up feeling scattered, totally overwhelmed, and maybe even a little anxious. If that sounds familiar, well, you might just be working with what we call a type M mind.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. It's the huge difference between having a powerful M-shaped mind and falling into the dash-shaped trap. See, a type M mind builds these deep pillars of skill. You become an expert generalist. The dash shape, on the other hand, is a mile wide and an inch deep. You're just a collector of hobbies with no real foundation. So the real challenge is figuring out how to build that M without getting stuck as a dash. So how do we even start to figure this out? Well, luckily, some smart people have developed a kind of alphabet to describe different profiles of expertise. Which brings us to the real question. What's your shape? Okay, so this framework lays out the different archetypes. You've got your I-shaped specialist who goes super deep on just one thing. Then there's the dash-shaped generalist who knows a little bit about a lot of stuff. After that, you've got the T-shaped professional, which was kind of the gold standard for a while, one deep skill, and then this broad ability to collaborate. But the M-shaped mind, now that's where it gets really interesting. Multiple deep pillars of expertise, all connected. And here's the absolute key. You don't build all those pillars at once. That's not how it works. The M shape is built through something called serial mastery. You dive deep, and I mean deep, into one domain for a season, we're talking maybe 6 to 18 months, until you hit what's called functional fluency. Then, and only then, you move on to the next one. It's a very structured approach to becoming a multidisciplinary expert. And you know what? The research totally backs this up. This multi-skilled approach, it's a hallmark of a lot of high achievers. For example, a surprising number of Nobel laureates aren't just experts in one tiny field. It's that cross-pollination of ideas, that ability to connect the dots between things that seem totally unrelated, that's a powerful engine for innovation.
Which brings us to the M-shaped mind's real superpower. It's called far transfer. This isn't just about knowing a bunch of different things. It's the ability to see an underlying pattern, like a library of metaphors, in one area, say music, and then apply it to solve a problem in a completely different world, like software development. This is where human creativity really, truly shines.
Okay, so this brain sounds amazing, right? A superpower. But remember that high-performance engine we talked about at the beginning? Well, every engine has its limits, and this one is definitely prone to overheating. Let's dig into why your powerful brain can so often feel so incredibly scattered. Some researchers call this the scanner's brain. Your mind is this incredible idea factory, just constantly churning out new concepts, new connections. But here's the problem. Your working memory, the actual mental workbench where you build those ideas, it's tiny. So if you don't have a system to get those ideas off the bench and captured somewhere, you just end up with total overwhelm. And oh man, this has a real-world cost, which one writer cleverly calls the burnt toast tax. It's the price you pay for having a brain that's so wrapped up in high-level, cross-domain thinking that it forgets there's toast in the toaster. It's that pile of little things that get missed when your focus is a million miles away. Sound familiar?
So we have the symptom, that scattered feeling, the burnt toast, but what's the actual cause? What is driving this relentless hunt for novelty, for that new tool smell, that makes it so hard to just finish one thing?
It really boils down to what you could call a completion crisis. And listen, this is not a character flaw, it's neurological. Your brain has a high dopamine orientation. That just means it gets a bigger chemical reward from starting something new and exciting than it does from the hard, boring slog of actually finishing it. You are, by your very design, a starter. The challenge is learning how to become a finisher. So, how do we manage this? How do we get all the benefits of this incredible engine without constantly overheating? Well, this is where a powerful new tool comes into the picture. We need to think about AI not as some kind of replacement, but as a very specific upgrade, as the connective tissue for your brain.
Remember those deep vertical pillars of expertise that make up the M shape? Well, think of AI as the horizontal bar, the connective tissue that actually bridges them together. It can help you synthesize information across all your different domains way more efficiently than you could ever do on your own.
Let's get specific. What does that actually mean? Well, for one, AI can reduce the administrative friction of switching between complex tasks, which is a huge energy drain for the M-shaped mind. It also lowers the barrier to entry when you want to explore a new field, letting you get up to speed much faster. Basically, it acts like a cognitive exoskeleton, amplifying your natural ability to connect ideas. Now, this sounds fantastic, but here's the crucial warning. What happens when you give a high-performance engine a turbocharger, but you forget the steering wheel? What if this new co-pilot just helps you get lost but faster than ever before? And this is the real danger. Without strict guardrails, for a brain that is already addicted to novelty, AI becomes a rabbit hole enabler. It doesn't solve your completion crisis, it makes it 100 times worse. Instead of a tool for focus, it becomes the ultimate engine for distraction, helping you dig a million fascinating but totally unproductive rabbit holes. Okay, so you've got this high-performance brain and you've got this new super tool, AI. Now you need the user manual. Think of this next part as a consultation, a clear set of instructions for getting on the path to real mastery. Now, let's be super clear. The goal here is not to crush your natural curiosity or to stop exploring. That ability to jump between domains, that's your strength. The goal is to do it with purpose. And to do that, you have to put your AI on a leash. You need to be the master, not the other way around. And here's how you do it. Step 1, use really specific prompts to tightly define the task. Step 2, set hard constraints. You can literally tell your AI, do not ask me follow-up questions. This stops those endless conversational loops that lead you astray. 3, use AI to satisfy your novelty craving productively. Tell it, make sure your next idea is totally different from the ones before it. And finally, combine the best of both worlds. Use your brain for what it's amazing at, generating wild new ideas, and use AI to refine them and make them practical. Ultimately, it all comes down to this one balance. Your natural gift is cognitive flexibility, that incredible ability to jump between ideas and domains. But the skill you have to deliberately build is cognitive persistence. That is the learned discipline to stick with a problem, to push through that boring middle part and actually see it through to the end. It's all about developing grit to complement your gift. It's also really important to get our terms straight here. A multipotentiate is someone who has the potential to be great in a lot of areas. An M-shaped professional is someone who has built a structure, those deep pillars, to make that potential useful. And a true polymath, well, that's someone who achieves deep, simultaneous mastery and makes foundational contributions in multiple fields. They are incredibly, incredibly rare. This distinction is so important. Being M-shaped isn't about trying to be Leonardo da Vinci. The goal is different. A type M brain is a strategic bridge builder, connecting different worlds of knowledge to create something new. A true polymath, they're a world builder, creating those worlds from scratch. Both are powerful, but they are not the same thing. So you have the high-performance engine. You know its strengths, and you know its failure points. And now you have the user manual for upgrading it, for putting your tools on a leash, and for balancing your flexibility with persistence. So the only question left is, what will you build?